songs in the walls and stories in the halls, memories and history.
Welcome to this 40th party, and we're looking forward to the next 40 years. Amy, Petty, thanks for that wonderful Jan Krist offering. And I'll just be brief. The creator of Gravity is here, Henry Woodworth. And, hey, hip, hip, hooray for Henry. And I remember telling him, because he knew and had worked with Jan, and he showed me the script, and I wrote the story for it, and I said, you know, Jan Krist, your friend, has music that will fit perfectly in this musical. And of course, she wrote half the songs, I wrote the other half. Guess which are, you know, the best. But we have several people from that opening production of Trinity House, October 31st, yeah, we were all trick-or-treating, October 31st, 1981. And if you were here that opening night, and I know some of you were here, Dan, I think Helene was here too, raise your hand. Anybody here? Okay, well, yeah, Al Cresta and Sally was here, wonderful. And if you remember, Al did this wrap-up. And it was just this kind of foreshadow of what he'd be doing, you know, because he would get promptings and interruptions from the audience, and Al would just listen, you know. And there's a character named Bernard that you might see slightly later. But we started Trinity House. It's just an experiment in the creative arts. What happens with new material and an audience that will accept the possibility of failure and still love? Oh, what a cool thing. We learned a lot. I think Bernard is here. Uh-oh. He's bringing the box. Tonight we will be sharing additional excerpts from a few of our Trinity House productions, along with some special music performances. There will be time toward the end for some audience sharing of memories, so sit back and enjoy Trinity House the first 40 years. But first thing we're going to do is we're going to sing a song from my musical Junior High. And originally, I have to tell you, I wrote it for middle schoolers. Okay? And they started reading it, and no one was laughing. And I said, no, okay, we're going to do it with young adults. But my friend John Strodbeck on the piano is going to sing, and I'm passing out music you might have to share with it. Here's the lyric. I want you to pretend that you're the chorus. You know, did I feel ugly? Yes. Did I feel stupid? Yes. Yes. And then there's a portion of the refrain. Were there parties? Oh, there were parties. With lots of laughs, you're just laughing. Ha, 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 was I invited? No! Such times, such wonderful times. Okay, I have to share. But let me, let's start. Can we practice, were there parties? Oh, were there parties? Oh, there were parties. With lots of laughs? Was I invited? Such times, okay, good, they got it. Here we go. On the parentheticals, you can answer. Did I feel ugly? Was I hated? Did I feel stupid? Alienated? Oh, what fun I had at 13. Did I play football? No. Have lots of friends? No. Did girls love me? No. Dates no end? No. Oh, what fun I had at 13. Now here's a bigger part for you. Here we go. Were there parties? With lots of laughs? Was I invited? No. Such times, such wonderful times. Did I have pimples? Yes. Was I too short? Yes. Did I get cut? Yes. From every sport? Yes. Oh, what fun I had at 13. How about my clothes? Yes. Were they in style? No. Were there girls that brought me smiles? No. Oh, what fun I had at 13. I had at 13. Oh, what fun I had at 13. Give yourselves a hand. All right. Quickly, I wanted to, if Ken is out here, where's Ken? Okay, Ken's going to do, we have a friend who is going to perform tonight a portion of Denial, but he passed away. And Bob Denial, how many remember Bob Denial? And this was the second show we did, and we opened it in 1982, and we ran it for 6 weekends. And it was a collection of stories about a guy trying to find his romantic messiah in church. What a concept. But what I've asked Ken to do this, at the funeral, some friends came into Duncan's and I was talking to them in the parking lot, and by the time we got into the funeral service, the minister was half done with his 15-minute sermon. There was no opportunity, and I had stuff to read from Ken about our friend Bob Denial. You got time? Where's Ken?
Sure.
Yeah.
Laura, you're fine. You don't need to know.
I'll put a hand for Ken Reese.
Hey. My name's Charlie Simpson, Emerson Junior High grad. I have some notes. Did these on the way here. I'd like to say it's an honor to be here as the keynote speaker for the 57th annual reunion of the class of 8th grade Emerson Junior High 1965. And let's be real, none of us are going to graduate from high school anyway. I'd like to give a shout out to my friend Benny Hopkins over here for using his AARP discount card. Get me up here. Great bus ride. Always nice to have an EMT and an oxygen tank in the back of the bus. So makes me feel, only 2 died. So I'm a little nervous. I haven't been on stage in quite some time. So I was going to do this theme for Denis right now, but my hands are kind of shaking because, you know, part of this is not stage fright. It's just talk about my friend. So Bob was a giant here. He stood above people, you know, by height, popularity, and just acting ability. And I was heartbroken when I found out what happened last November. His stepbrother, Mark, is here. If it wasn't for Mark, I never would have met Bob. Mark was my unit director at a Lutheran church camp called Mishaluka up in Mayo. And Mark was supposed to get married. I had the reception anyway. But I met Bob Denial, and then we drove home and became friends after that. And every time we came here, he was in Wyandotte. I grew up in Allen Park. And afterwards, we'd do productions here for Denial. We'd always stop off at Denis in Allen Park till like midnight just to critique.
Remember Denis or Ram's Horn?
Right. So, my best memory is that we did Denial at an educational conference in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania at the Hilton. And Paul's, if you're familiar with Play Denial, Paul would sit up here, or Denial would sit up here sometimes with Mike Kress, your brother as well. And I would deliver a pizza at the beginning of the play, and then I would come back. I had a Walkman, so when I would come back on stage, I had one of Bob's lines after I delivered the pizza. One time it fell out of the box on the floor, and Denial was pissed. Remember after that? And it fell right down on the cheese side. So yeah, and I put it back in the box. But, you know, I'm outside; they can't see that, right? It's like it hasn't happened to any of us. We just don't know it. So then he has the line. He says, "Hey, don't we get a couple Cokes with that?" And then I go backstage and I had 2 Cokes. One was cold, one was warm. So I'm playing air guitar, coming back up to the stage with the warm one, which would ultimately blow up. And then there would be a knock at the door, and Bob would tell Steve or Mike Kress, who was playing, go get the door, and Mike would go to the door and said, "There's some people here to see you." And the people who were here to see them was the audience. So Bob would speak to the audience about the 4 different vignettes trying to find a girl. So we did this in front of, what did this place seat, 108, something like that? So we're in Pittsburgh, and you had an option that evening. You could go see our play, which was billed as a romantic comedy with no embraces, and that's not funny. I'll go ahead that backwards. Romantic comedy that's not funny and has no embraces. That's it. So Paul went out and sold it like a dark comedy. And there's a lot of funny stuff in this play, and no one was laughing. And while we're doing this, there's a concert of jazz going on in another room, and then they switched audiences, you know. And then, you know Paul went out, like, he kind of went back out like Don Rickles, and we couldn't get these people to shut up. So it's a totally different audience. And one of the parts is Bob Donnell works in a hospital, and there's this girl in the hospital that he likes, and so he decides to join the baseball team. So his line to get to that vignette is, he comes out and says, you could do the line from the other guy. So I work in a hospital. The guy from the audience yells out, what do you do? So Bob Donnell had to stand, he's 6'3". So we're backstage, and he goes like this, and he just stares at the guy for like 30 seconds, and he says, his next line, he says, I work in housekeeping. And the place just went nuts. So, and it was always like that. So that's my favorite memory of my friend. I like to have Mark, his stepbrother's here, and he wrote a sonnet that I would like to hear. He was going to send it to me, but I wanted to hear from him first. So if you can just bear with me for a couple of just. Mark, I can't see you, but. Oh, there you are, front row. What do you know? I thought I was going to pull over, but okay.
This won't take too long. I started it on the day that Bob died, and I finished it this morning. So it's a sonnet, iambic pentameter, in case you were wondering. It's called A Sonnet for Bob. Robert Howard Denial, May 9th, 1956 to November 6th, 2021. Bob, my best friend, and then my stepbrother. The ladies were wild for Bob's long blonde hair. 73, his dad married mother. Bob broke many hearts in short-term affairs. Bob was easy to like back in those days. His weekends at the percolator pit, folk music, and coffee, and girls this phase, cigarettes, a habit he could not quit. I left for Kalamazoo, Bob stayed home. Same house on 16th Street for his whole life. We all have fears. Bob's was dying alone. He chose to be single, not take a wife. His half-brother Bill and I were with him as Bob peacefully passed into God's kingdom. Thank you.
Thanks so much. We love Bob Denial. Bill Watala was here in the first performance, and he came to Denial, our second play, which was about, I wrote based upon the character Bob Denial, the real guy, who, and the story was he's looking for his romantic messiah, and he was going everywhere he could find, okay? But Bill came and asked me, what's this about? And I know what he was pressing for. He was pressing for a theological, philosophic, cultural kind of backdrop to help explain what we were attempting to do. And I'm just a Baptist minister, pick my hand on my nose, you know, that kind of thing. And so he gave me an essay from John Peck, who was the founder of the Greenbelt Arts Festival. Just look it up. One of the largest festivals in Europe that happens to be sponsored by a Christian church. He was a philosopher. He was a great theologian. And I read his essay called Art and Evangelism, helping us understand that, yeah, the protagonist doesn't need to get, in quotes, saved in the end. That's a minnow to catch bass. This is an art where we're telling stories, where we're singing songs, where we can touch on the agonies and the griefs and the joys, right? John Peck, then we invited him over for a conference, and then a couple of years later, we invited him over to be pastor in residence of this artistic community in Northwest Detroit. I want to share with you just briefly, before our next act, one of John's vision statements, and I wanted to pay tribute to him. And I was able to share this and recite this at his memorial service in England. I have a vision of a church whose worship seeks out the resources of all of its members and utilizes all of their skills, where the hymns are sung with zest, perception, and expression, and accompanied by every instrument that everyone can play, including hands and feet and smiles. Where the unfamiliar music of another generation is learned until it's loved, whose liturgies are never mechanical and spontaneity is never trivial, where even the least of its meetings is conducted like a royal appointment and its greatest days are marked by solemn hilarity, where administrative efficiency is always the servant of caring love, where even poor efforts are done with painstaking diligence and commended with tolerant hope, where brilliance of talent or mind only serves to light up Jesus Christ and his gospel, where no one stands alone unless they need to stand alone. No one hogs the limelight, no one gets too much attention, and no one gets left out. Where outsiders are greeted and treated like old friends, where awkward ones are accepted and comfortable ones are allowed to be exposed to discomforting realities of a church which shares an invincible passion for learning and giving, and whose life is energized by a glad acceptance of the cross as a way of life. Where the first to hear a complaint is the offender and the last to air it is the sufferer. Of a church which shares an invincible passion for learning and giving, and whose life is energized again by a glad acceptance of the cross as a way of life. Whose sympathies are so warm and imaginative that no one dares indulge in self-pity, and whose ideals are so high that even slightly soiled notions are shamed into silence. I have a vision of a church like that because sometimes its worshipers hear the Redeemer's voice with such clarity that nothing will do but obedience, nothing matters but God's love, and all who enter can only wonder and watch. And I ask, I have a vision. Thank you, John Peck. And I have 20 copies of that. I'll put it in the back. It's part of my Shema, stated every day, that contextualizes all of my joys and griefs. Do you have a Shema, by the way? The Boys Next Door was presented at Trinity House in April and May of 1997. It was written by Tom Griffin and directed by Trudy Mason. The play tells the story of a day in the life of 4 challenged men who lived in a group home under the supervision. Thank you. Yep. The play tells the story of a day in the life of 4 mentally challenged men who live in a group home under the supervision of a sincere yet increasingly burned out social worker. Tonight, Dan Gumina reprises his role as Arnold Wiggins shares the opening monologue of The Boys Next Door. Dan Gumina, let's hear it.
My name is Arnold Wiggins. I'm basically a nervous person. People call me Arnold because I don't have a nickname. So I pretend that Arnold is my nickname. So that when people call me Arnold, I pretend that they're close personal friends who know me by my nickname, Arnold. I live here in the Stonehenge Villa apartment complex in a group apartment with 3 other guys. Did I mention that I was a nervous person? Well, frankly, I am. Today I went to the market at the end of the street to get some weeds, but I couldn't remember if I wanted 1 box or more boxes. So I asked the manager how many I should get. Just you, he said. Yes, sir, I said. 17. Thank you, I said. But I couldn't remember if I wanted one box or more boxes. So that's when I asked him. So I got 9 boxes of Wheaties and 7 heads of lettuce. That made 16. And a bag of charcoal briquettes, that made 17. But the more I thought about it, I don't think I got enough. Of what was it? A, lettuce. B, Wheaties. C, charcoal briquettes. This concerned me, so I asked the girl in line what she thought. And I forget what she said, but it was pretty thorough. And then I came home. You think I did the right thing?
Before our next, I wanted to pay a tribute to our own John McCoy, who has worked faithfully with us. John is a musician himself and certainly a magician in serving other melody makers and performers at Trinity House for decades, plural. His technical competencies are matched by his easygoing, even cheerful disposition. John McCoy's presence means more than a few knobs being adjusted to ensure quality sound, but a readiness to offer a word of encouragement that turns up the volume of one's confidence. John, you do this. We are thankful for your decades of dedicated service, John McCoy. Thank you. Give it up for John. The play Damien, written by Aldith Morris and directed by Sarah Hedeen, was presented in November and December of 1992. In this one-man production, Jeff Hedeen plays the role of Father Damien, a Belgian priest who gave his heart and life in service to the victims of a leprosy epidemic that broke out in the Hawaiian Islands in the 1800s. Tonight, Jeff will share with us a portion of the play, Damien.
Molokai? The first time I saw Molokai, the gray island, as the members called it, was from the railing of the ship that brought me to the islands. St. Patrick's Day, 1864. The Ironwood, 5 months out of Bremerhaven, entering Hawaiian waters under full sail, sweeps past the other islands until it comes close enough to Molokai that I can see part of it distinctly. A narrow southern tongue of land sticks out into the sea. The loneliest, most useless piece of land you can imagine. Barren, rock-strewn, wind-whipped. I still find it unbelievable that I could pass so close without some premonition of what it would become. A place of horror. A dumping ground for lepers. Saddest spot on the road. Of course, I had no way of knowing that while we were still 2 months at sea, a doctor in Honolulu had declared, I take this opportunity to bring before the public a subject of great importance. I mean, of course, the rapid spread of that new disease, called by the natives maitake. It is, ladies and gentlemen, true Oriental leprosy. And it will be the duty of the new legislature to take some measures effective. But humane, by which may be accomplished the segregation of all those afflicted. From opposite directions, we, leprosy, and I had come to the Sandwich Islands. Contemporaries, you might say. Although leprosy was as old as time, and I was barely 24. Ha! Oh, yeah, off to the left there. Yeah, half hidden in a grove of palm trees is the government building that housed the agency entrusted with taking measures, effective but humane, towards segregation of the lepers. The Board of Health. Now, in all good faith, they made those yellow flags and nailed them up throughout the kingdom, on doors and posts and sides of buildings, even on the chapel doors of my mission. In all good faith, I'm sure, they bought that sour tongue of land I first saw from the ship, that natural prison, surrounded on 3 sides by vicious turf, and on the 4th by sheer black cliffs that stopped prevailing winds and made them stop the rain. They shut the sun out at noon, and the land lay half a day in shadows. A place without a sunset, the lepers called it. In all good faith, they rounded up the lepers at gunpoint when necessary, and shipped them out with a pair of pants or a cotton dress and a promise of daily rations to supplement what it was hoped the lepers would produce themselves. In all good faith, they called an empty building a hospital and promised the staff to stock it with supplies. Effective? Yes, it got the lepers out of circulation so the foreign population could relax. Humane? No. No! It was a barbarous method of isolation. That tongue of land became a living graveyard. Can you imagine? Hundreds, sometimes as many as 1,000 lepers crowded 6, 8, 10 into stinking one room with the sheds. Can you imagine a community of the living dead without a doctor or a nurse? No resident police. No law, no work, no comfort, and no hope. As for that hospital, an empty building with the sickest of lay on the bare floor on their own fears and waited. But no one came, except the flies by day and the rats by night to feast upon their sores. Some of the more able-bodied lepers, determined to wrest the last bit of pleasure from their lives, gathered in a separate place dubbed the Village of the Fools, brewed liquor from the roots of plants, and spent their days and nights drinking, babbling, boasting, and boasting. Aole! Kanavahi Makiavahai! In this place there is no law! Raiding the rest of the settlement, stealing little girls and boys to use as slaves or to satisfy their lust. That was all.
Once upon a time, during Trinity House's early years, Lauren Garfield and Timna Peterman developed a quirky event called Common Room. Described as garage-style theater, Common Room was a place for artists to try new things and stretch their artistic wings. I will mention this to you. I have, Timna, you can confirm this. Every place I've gone, I have taken the Common Room idea that Lauren and Timna invented, and it's worked. And the key of cultivating creativity in a community, this Common Room program, to be involved in that variety show, you had to do something new. If you were a juggler, it can't be the same old juggling act. It has to be something new. If you're an actor, a new persona. If you're a songwriter, a new song. Guitarist, maybe a new lick. And what we found through that experiment, and quarterly sessions here in Trinity House. Almost a cult-like following. People were lining up, couldn't wait to get in. Some common rooms had themes like Common Room Light and Common Room Deep. Audience participation was encouraged in various ways, such as bringing a creation made of Spam or dryer lint. Anyone remember that? Wow. In fact, Linda Gillies was here. She's a psychologist, and I had her, interpret Rorschach interpretations out of Etch-a-Sketch offerings, representing this aspect of the theater's history tonight. Is our own Common Room creator, Lauren Garfield, singing Elijah Rock.
Thank you. As I told the first audience, this is a mix of Mahalia Jackson, Tom Waits, and Ethel Merman. So, yeah, you'll see. Elijah Rock, shout, shout it. Elijah Rock, coming up, Lord. Elijah Rock, shout, shout it. Elijah Rock, coming up, Lord. Satan's a liar and a conjure too. If you don't find out, he'll conjure you. If I could, I surely would stand on the rock where Moses stood. Elijah Rock, shout, shout it. Elijah Rock, coming up, Lord. Elijah Rock, shout, shout it. Elijah Rock, coming up, Lord. Ezekiel said he saw him wheel in the middle of a wheel. Johnny talked about him in the book of the seven seals. Some say the Rose of Sharon, others say the Prince of Peace. But I can tell everybody in this old world he's been a rock and a shelter to me. Hallelujah. Ooh, oh, oh, Elijah Rock, shout, shout it. Elijah Rock, coming up, Lord. Elijah Rock, shout, shout it. Elijah Rock, coming up, Lord. I can call my rock in the morning. I can call him late at night. Whenever he is with me, and on my battles he will fight. Whenever I'm in trouble, I can call him on the line. He put a telephone in my heart, and I can call my God any old time. Elijah Rock, shout, shout it. Elijah Rock, coming up, Lord. Elijah Rock, shout, shout it. Elijah Rock, coming up, Lord. Ooh, go Elijah. Ooh, go Elijah. Ooh, go Elijah. Ooh, go Elijah. Thank you.
Thanks, Lauren. And thanks for all you've brought to this place. One of the great gifts of ours was David. Yeah, exactly. Well, I put my hands in my pockets and forget where they are. Dave Denny, he and his wife Renee were a great gift to us, as were Sarah and Jeff Hedeen, obviously. But they've come all the way to celebrate with us from New Hampshire. Let's give it up from New Hampshire. Okay, Dave is a minister there, and to be with us tonight, and he's going to share the poem, "The Cremation of Sam McGee."
Common Room was our entry point to Trinity House. We are forever grateful for so much that I have said to Susan VandenBrick the other day, we carry Trinity House and Trinity Baptist Church with us wherever we go. Yeah, this is for sure. So this is a poem that I'm reprising from, I think it was a 1995 Common Room I did at that show. It's a poem by Robert W. Service called "The Cremation of Sam McGee," and I want to create the setting for you. Imagine that the year is 1898, and you were in a saloon somewhere in not one of the best sections of Seattle, Washington, toward the end of the Klondike Gold Rush. And prospectors are returning from the Great White North and filtering down through the Pacific Northwest. And they gather there in the saloon, and some of them come back burdened down with bags of gold, but most of them come back only burdened with disappointment and failure. And you are standing at the bar nursing a beer, and over in the corner you hear the voice of one who, by the look of him, has been in the Klondike for some time, and he's speaking to younger men who, by the look of them, are perhaps on their way by the newness of their clothes and the shininess of their faces. And you hear the tale he begins to speak to these young men, and he says, "There are strange things done in the midnight sun by the men who moil for gold. The Arctic trails, they have their secret tales that would make your blood run cold. The Northern Lights, they've seen queer sights, but the queerest I ever did see was that night on the marge of Lake LaBarge when I cremated Sam McGee." Now, Sam McGee was from Tennessee, where the cotton blooms and blows, and why he left his home in the South to roam round the pole, God only knows. He was always cold. But the land of gold seemed to hold him like a spell. He would often say in his homely way, "I'd sooner live in hell." Well, it was Christmas Day, and we was mushing our way over the Dawson Trail. Talk about your cold. Right through the parka's fold, it stabbed like a driven nail. Our eyes, we'd close, our lashes froze till sometimes we couldn't see. It wasn't much fun, but the only one to whimper was Sam McGee. Well, that very night, as we lay packed tight in our robes beneath the snow, and the dogs were fed, and the stars o'erhead were dancing heel and toe, he turns to me. "And Cap," he says, I'll cash in this trip, I guess. If I do, I hope that you won't refuse my last request." Well, he seemed so low, I couldn't say no. And then he says with a sort of a moan, "It's the cursed cold. It's got right hold till I'm chilled clean through to the bone. It ain't being dead. It's the awful dread of the icy grave that pains. So I want you to swear that foul or fair you will cremate my last remains." Well, a friend's last need is a thing to heed, so I swore I would not fail. And we started on at the streak of dawn, but, oh God, he looked ghastly pale. He crouched in the sleigh, and he raved all day of his home back in Tennessee. And by nightfall, a corpse was all that was left of Sam McGee. There was not a breath in that land of death as I hurried, horror-driven with a corpse half hid that I couldn't get rid because of a promise given. It was lashed to the sleigh, and it seemed to say, "You may tax your brawn and brain, but you promised true, and it's up to you to cremate my last remains." Well, a promise made is a debt, unpaid, and the trail has its own stern code. So in the days to come, though my lips were dumb, in my heart, how I cursed that load. And in the long, long night by the lone firelight, while the huskies round in a ring howled out their woes to the homeless snows, oh God, how I loathed that thing. And every day, that quiet clay would heavy and heavier grow. But on I went. Though the dogs were spent, and the grub was getting low, and the trail was bad, and I felt half mad, but I swore I would not give in. Sometimes I would sing to the hateful thing, and it would hearken with a grin. But then I came to the marge of Lake Labarge, and there a derelict lay. It was jammed in the ice, and I could see in a trice she was called the Alice May. And I looked at it, and I thought a bit, and I looked at my frozen chum. And then, "Here," said I, with a sudden cry, "is my crematorium." Some wood I tore from the cabin floor, and I lit the boiler fire. Some coal I found that was laying around, and I heaped the fuel up higher. The flames, they soared, and that furnace roared, such a blaze you seldom see. And I burned a hole in the glowing coal, and I stuffed in Sam McGee. And then I took a hike, because I did not care to hear him sizzle so. And the heavens scowled, and the huskies howled, and the wind began to blow, and I was icy cold, yet a hot sweat rolled down my cheeks, and I don't know why. And the greasy smoke in an inky cloak went streaking down the sky. I do not know how long in the snow I wrestled with grisly fear. But the stars came out and danced about ere again I ventured near. I was sick with dread. But I bravely said, "I'll just take a peek inside. I guess he's cooked." It's time I looked. And the door I opened wide, and there sat Sam, right in the heart of the furnace roar, and he was wearing a smile you could see a mile. And he says, "Oh, please close that door. It's warm in here, and I greatly fear you'll let in the cold and storm. Why, since I left Plum Tree back in Tennessee, it's the first time I've been warm." There are strange things done in the midnight sun by the men who moil for gold. The Arctic trails have their secret tales that would make your blood run cold. The Northern Lights, oh, they have seen queer sights. But the queerest I ever did see was that night on the marge of Lake Labarge when I cremated Sam McGee.
Oh, boy.
I wanted to make our first of several tributes, people who have been dedicated to this work, this artistic house, this sanctuary. First one I want to share is with Gary Grace, and to him, who's on the light board. And by the way, all of these tributes, they're going to come, we were hoping with a plaque that's going to be wonderful that Sean Guy VandenBrick made, and they're beautiful, but they cracked. And it sounds like Trinity House. One can't help but wonder what Mr. Gary Grace is thinking. You watch him sit amid a Trinity House board discussion, a board on which he's served for decades, plural. And you can tell his mind is working. It doesn't take long to guess he's thinking about solving problems with this building a couple of decades short of 200. And his thinking is the runway on which he lands his overwhelmingly successful plans. Lighting, piping, furry animals making their abode in our space. And Gary Grace leads the posse, often a posse of one to supply the need. Often alone and without fanfare, he redesigns, reconfigures, and reconstructs quietly, faithfully, successfully. We're thankful for you, Gary Grace.
Hi, my name's Bill Keith, and I have the pleasure of serving on the board here at Trinity House Theater. I also am fortunate to be the concert coordinator. I was thinking back about the first time that I heard music here at Trinity House. I had been coming to plays for a few years, and I think it was mid-1990s, and there was going to be a fundraising concert weekend. Jan Krist on one night, I was sold right there. And a songwriter I hadn't heard of named Sarah Mason on the other night. And I thought, well, I'll definitely go see Jan, but you know, if Trinity House is doing it, it's going to be good, so I'm going to go both nights. And I was blown away. Fast forward a couple years later, I think it was the summer of 1998, Sarah Mason was here again for another concert. And I came, and I was blown away by her performance. And after the performance, I talked to the artistic director at the time, Tommy Olson, and I said, you should do more concerts. And he said, what would you do? And I said, let's get together, and he said, let's get together and talk and see what artists. And we began dreaming of lists of artists. And over the years, slowly but surely, we've had many of those artists perform here at Trinity House. It's been an amazing thing. I first met Matt Watroba back in the early 90s when we were both working for the Plymouth Canton Schools at Salem High School. Matt was an English teacher, and he also taught radio. And I worked as the station manager for the high school radio station, where I still work. And we became fast friends. Loved his radio show, and loved learning about all the new artists that he was introducing listeners throughout Detroit to. And as we began doing concerts here, it became obvious that we had to have Matt perform on our stage. Over the years, he's one of those artists that probably has performed here among the most of any artist that we've had. He's performed solo. He's performed with his good friend, the Reverend Robert Jones. He's performed with the songwriting collective, the Yellow Room Gang. He's opened shows. He's headlined his own shows. And we're just so blessed to have him here tonight as a part of this 40th anniversary celebration. So please welcome Matt Watroba.
Thank you. And I don't know if this has been mentioned yet because I've been back there, but none of this would happen if not for volunteers, right? Let's give all those people on the lights, on the sound, making cookies, all that stuff. That's how we keep things like the Trinity House alive. I did the math. You can either go see the Eagles at Little Caesars Arena, or you can see every concert at the Trinity House for the same amount of money for the next 3 years. Your choice, folks. A lot of folk singers may tell you to sing along. I can guarantee you they don't mean it as much as I do. Get a good posture, get a nice big breath, and hum this note. Now just keep doing that. Even if you have to breathe, just don't breathe at the same time as the person next to you. If you're doing it properly, it should be no effort at all. Just let the sound fall out of your face. I had the chance a couple times to talk with the great Pete Seeger, and Pete told me once that, keep going, told me once that the most important work he'd ever done in his life, and he was 89 at the time, was getting people to sing. This is a guy who marched on Selma, right? Who cleaned up the dirtiest river in America, the Hudson. And he said singing was the most important thing he did, getting people to sing. So we're going to carry a little of that work on. This is a little thing he used to do. Let's see if we can replicate it. Okay, keep doing that, and everybody here, like in the middle, can go. Breathe when you have to, but just keep the sound going. And everybody over here will go. When I count to 3, just open that up and do a gentle ooh. Ready? 1, 2, 3, and ooh. Raise my arms, just make it a little louder. Not yet. Wait till I raise them. Ooh. Ooh. Now together we'll sing the words to Amazing Grace, but watch me. Amazing grace. Breathe when you have to. How sweet the sound. You need your breath on those low notes that say, find that harmony, saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Was blind, but now I see. Go back to ooh. That, ladies and gentlemen, is why I love the Trinity House, right? I mean, that little act of people singing in community has actually been scientifically proven to heal you. It actually releases chemicals in your brain that make you feel better. Do you feel a little better right now? It's because it's true, right? I don't know why we don't do that every single day of our lives. I do. Maybe you should start. I do love this place. Best thing we ever did was turn this into a historical graveyard in the back of this house, because if not for that, it would be a Becca de Bupas or whatever we have now. You know that's true, right? This is prime real estate, and that's why we have to treat it like the temple that it is. Here's a song I wrote a few years back when I realized that half of my Facebook friends unfriended the other half of my Facebook friends. Could you love me if I don't look like you? Is it deeper? Is it stronger? Something hidden, something true. If I stare a little longer, will I see myself in you? Could you love me if I don't look like you? Could you love me if I don't think like you? Is it deeper? Is it stronger? Something hidden, something true. If I stare a little longer, will I see myself in you? Could you love me if I don't think like you? This life's a burning candle, and it would be a shame if we ignored the difference between the smoke and the flame. Love me if I don't pray like you? Is it deeper? Is it stronger? Something hidden, something true. If I stare a little longer, will I see myself in you? Could you love me if I don't pray like you? This moment is a miracle, so why not find a way to be here and be grateful that we share another day? Could you love me if I don't love like you? Is it deeper? Is it stronger? Something hidden, something true. If I stare a little longer, will I find myself in you? Could you love me if I am not like you? Thanks, guys. Thank you so much. Thanks, Trinity House. Thanks, Bill.
One of the things that I would say about music, and I'd say it's probably the same thing for theater in this place, is that there's something magical, something sacred about. I was here just a few weeks ago when a group of young songwriters were in the building using it for a Michigan Fair production, and they were talking about performing, and I said, there's something about this room, the four walls, that makes music such an important thing in here. And I think Matt's performance revealed that. Matt touched on one of the things that I think that makes Trinity House important. He mentioned the volunteers, but even more than the volunteers, it's the community that comes together. Over the years, we've realized that there are many of our volunteers, many of our community members who want to get up on stage and maybe aren't regular performers or aren't seasoned performers, and wanted to make an opportunity where they could perform also with some other performers that maybe perform on a regular basis. And we created a show called Around the House. A little bit of theater, a little bit of music, spoken word, really any artistic pursuit. Over all the Around the Houses that we've done, the next performers that you're going to see, I think have reprised this role in 3 different Around the Houses. Kathy Kitzmann and Laura Gumina have been regular participants in Around the House, even beyond this performance. But in this performance, they portray 2 characters, Bethel and Clarice. And they're taking part in a play that's called She's Fabulous by the writer Jack Neary. And in this particular scene, they're at the theater and seeing a friend perform, well, a friend or a rival. And you get a little bit of a sense of this throughout their performance. So here's She's Fabulous.
So what do we say when? Backstage, when it's over, we have to say something.
We say, congratulations. Congratulations. Congratulations.
It's a very safe thing to say after a show. You say it. She thinks you say, congratulations on your performance. You think to yourself, congratulations, you got us to come see you in this fish of death. It always works. What? Congratulations. That's what you said to me after Lost in Yonkers. I liked you in Lost in Yonkers. Everybody liked you in Lost in Yonkers. Are you everybody? Am I ever everybody? Oh, I did it. You wanted that part. Oh, but I want that role. I'm way too young for that part. I'm not. Apparently not. I worked my butt off playing that part. Yes, you did. Me, yes, I did. You worked your butt off playing that part. You saw the work. You're not supposed to see the work. I'm sorry, I saw it. Forgive me. You really saw it. You saw the work. I did. Seriously, you saw the work. You were a thespian jackhammer out there. You could have done better, I suppose. Better. Who's to say? It's such a subjective thing as acting, isn't it? Better. Who's to judge who's better when playing a role? An actor makes a choice, another actor makes another choice. Better. Who's to say? Now, would I have done it differently? Of course. Differently. You would have been different playing that part. I would have been different playing that part. How would you have been different? I would have been better. There is nothing you would have done different or better or anything else. We have vitriol. We should waste it on each other. We have vitriol. We should aim in the right direction. The bitch who took our part. Uh-oh. Fasten your seatbelts. Here comes the second act. It's a beautiful part. It is. She's so lucky to be playing it. She is. Guess what we'll tell her? We'll tell her that. What? It's a beautiful part, but she's so lucky to be playing it. We don't do congratulations. No. She's better than congratulations. Yes, she is. She's fabulous, isn't she? She is. Hey, we're not dead. No, we're not. Somebody else will do it. Another theater. Another time. Audition. We will. We'll be fabulous.
Levickas, who was raised here in many ways, along with her sister Jessica. We're glad you're here in Pleasant Daily. Joe, I see Joe. Emily.
Wow.
I got lucky to do a little tribute for the Laura. Yeah, thanks. And there's lots of people who could be talking about Laura right now, and I'm lucky to be the one.
Wow.
There are many stories of how Laura Gumina influenced our community with her artistry and her passion. And here's mine. I was a painfully shy, highly sensitive, emotional child who was told I was taking a theater class by my dad. Somewhere in the process of walking through peanut butter, remember that? Playing, improvisation, performing scenes from Quilters, we've thought of a lot of memories from the classes. Anybody take a class from Laura? There's other people. I remember also, although that class transformed me, it really did. Laura saw my sensitivity and emotional capacity as strength, sensitivity and emotional capacity. And I remember seeing Laura perform in Remnant. Anybody else remember that? I was probably 8 or 9, but I remember still that the set was in the center of this space and the actors were on the outsides. And I just remember being mesmerized by your performance, and I loved seeing you perform again. That was such a delight. And just by the ability and the power of storytelling. Laura has taken many of us under her wing and has helped us see our potential. She's guided us to share stories with passion and bravery. She built a safe and loving community that allowed so many of us to expand our identity from playfully shy child to a fellow theater artist. So thank you. She continues to usher in the next generation with grace and wonder, and for that I am grateful. So thank you so much.
She taught science classes at the high school and college level. It shouldn't surprise anyone that she helped keep each student on track and ready to learn even more. And that's her habit and skill base with so many of life's categories. She's the ideal field leader and theater director. Kathy Kitzmann takes an assignment and can lead a team with vision and passion, with energies and potency not found on any periodic table. She also balances Trinity House's financial situation quietly, and everyone is glad she keeps those boisterous books. We shout hooray that Kathy Kitzmann has been on our team for several decades. Hooray!
I do want to add really briefly to what Paul said. I served as the president of the theater, and my wife Heidi loved the fact that I became president because she said, I guess that now makes me the first lady. And recently Heidi said to me, well, you know, I may be the first lady, but we all know who the queen of Trinity House is. Well, I was backstage thinking about my first introduction to Trinity House Theater, and it was through live theater in this place, and I was trying to remember what would have been that first production. Was it the production of Tartuffe, or was it Damien, or so many different plays that I saw here, The Boys Next Door. This place has definitely been a magical place for theater. One of the plays that I unfortunately never had a chance to see, you'll get a little bit of a taste of tonight, and that is the play Quilters. It was written by Barbara Damashek and Molly Newman, and it brings together the story of a pioneer woman and her 6 daughters. The production of Quilters was produced back in 1993, and we just paid tribute to Laura. She was the director of that. The choreographer was Susan VandenBrick, and the musical director was Diane Lord. Tonight, Sarah Hedeen will share a monologue from Quilters.
It's beautiful, the soul. Well, I remember it like it was yesterday, my first quilt. Mom had one of them frames that swung down from over the bed, and there was always a quilt. She quilted for the public to pay our way. And we might take one out late one night when it was finished and wait till morning to put the next one in. Well, that was as long as it ever was. Mama was a beautiful quilter. She had the smallest stitches and the smallest feet in the county. Everybody knew it. She never let nobody else touch her quilts. she was done quilting for the night at a job she liked to like herself, she would pin a cloth over the top of it so nobody could look at it. I always longed to work with her. And I can tell you how plain I recall the day she said to me, "Sarah, you come quilt with me now if you want to." I was too short to sit in the chair and reach the frame, so I got my needle and my thread, and I stood beside her, and I put my needle down through, and I pulled it back up, and I put it back down again, and my stitches was about 3 inches long. I'll come in about that time. "Florence, that child is flat ruining your quilt." "Why, she's doing no kind of a thing. She's quilting her first quilt." "We're just going to have to rip it all out tonight." "Them stitches is going to be in that quilt when it wears out." All the time they was talking, my stitches was getting shorter and shorter. I was born on mountains. I don't hardly remember being a girl. I was married to a man when I was not quite 15 years old. I was figuring a while back, and I reckon he was 32 at the time. I guess I liked him some then, but I was just like all the rest of the girls on the mountain. We thought that if we could get married and leave home, we wouldn't have to work so lasting. I had my first baby 9 months and 18 days after we was married. Janet, Lisa, Jane, John, Jody. We sure went in for them Janes. Margaret, Dana, Joseph, and Ted. I quilt right here every day with the family pictures up there in front of me. Gives me a good feeling. Makes me think of the time when the kids was little and always crawling around under my feet. It doesn't seem so long ago. Well, I hope I can keep up and get this quilt finished. Oh, my arthritis has been slowing me down. Getting old just never did agree with me. People ask me where I get so much energy at my age. I tell them I don't have time to get old. I'm too busy. Sometimes the arthritis gets so bad I can't do any quilting at all, and just the simplest piece. That's why I like the pattern of the log cabin. It's just skinny strips of fabric from one to the next. Nothing fancy. It sure turns out pretty. You can make it from the tiniest remnants at the bottom of the barrel, as long as they're the same width. Some of these belong to my babies, and some of them my mama gave me, her children's clothes. Me and mine, we never could throw anything away. I guess we had to listen. When you get on in years, sleep doesn't come all that easy. I can hardly remember sleeping a whole night through anymore. If it's not the arthritis that makes me, it is the foolish dreams I've been having. There's one where I'm rushing to finish a quilt and I can't find the last pattern and I can't remember where I put it. Oh, I've had that one a couple of times. I set it aside myself, but I can't find it. I can't remember it. Serves me right. I'm an old quilter, but it sure took Joe's patience when you ever quilt the same pattern twice. Nowadays, I can pick up something I made a while back. But this here, and I look at it, and I think, was it me that made this? I couldn't figure out that pattern now. Just like looking at the work of a stranger. Figure, I've made about 100 quilts in my lifetime. Not bad. There's one that took me 25 years to assemble. And that's 25 after putting the children to bed years. My husband used to say to me, "Are you ever going to put them needles down?" There I'd be, night after night, deep in the stitches in the midnight oil. Those 25 years sure saw me through a lot of changes. Some of them not so pretty. I tremble when I think what that quilt knows about me. Well, I have been hurrying to get this quilt finished. It's almost done. But I guess finishing touches is going to be up to you girls. I give you this, the work of my hands. You, my daughters, with all my love and blessings. I hope that you will get as much joy out of the using of it as I have gotten out of the making of it. I want you, Jenny, my oldest, to take it and keep it. Pass it along to the next one, and the next one. Each of you keeping it a year. Hope that you will show it to my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren. Tell them the stories that are in it. Oh, and by the way, when you bury me, don't bury me in my best quilt. Never grow. No, we'll never grow in a land where we'll never.
One of the most memorable productions that I saw here at Trinity House was Choruses from the Rock, from the play written by T.S. Eliot. And I think one of the things that stands out to me about great theater is that it often transcends the time period that it was written in. This was written back in 1934, but I think from this small portion of the production that you'll see tonight, you'll get a sense that it still addresses many of the same things that we're dealing with right now. Trinity House produced this production back in February and March of 1995. It was directed by Susan VandenBrick. One of the things that stands out about the choruses was that it reveals Eliot's sensitivity to the struggle between good and evil, his respect for order and tradition, and his awareness of the void and futility of much of his affairs and much of his life. Tonight, Susan will share selected excerpts from Choruses from the Rock.
Heaven. The hunter with his dogs pursues his circuit. O perpetual revolution of configured stars, O perpetual recurrence of determined seasons, O world of spring and autumn, birth and dying. Where is the life we've lost in living? Where is the wisdom we've lost in knowledge? Where is the knowledge we've lost in information? The world changes and the world turns, but one thing does not change. In all of my years, one thing does not change. However you disguise it, this thing does not change. The perpetual struggle between good and evil. The desert is not remote in southern tropics. The desert is not only around the corner. The desert is squeezed in the tube train next to you. The desert is in the heart of your brother. No man has hired us. with pocketed hands and lowered faces. We stand about in open places and shiver in unlit rooms. Only the wind moves over empty fields untilled, where the plow rests at an angle to the furrow. In this land there shall be one cigarette to 2 men, and to 2 women 1/2 pint of bitter ale. In this land no man has hired us. Our life is unwelcome and our death unmentioned in the times. What life have you, if not life together? There is no life that is not in community, and no community that is not lived in praise of God. And now you live dispersed on ribbon roads, and no one knows or cares who is his neighbor, unless his neighbor makes too much disturbance. But all dash to and fro in motor cars, familiar with the roads and settled nowhere. Nor does the family even move together, but every son would have his motorcycle, and daughters ride away on casual pillions. In the lands of lobelias and tennis flannels, the rabbit shall burrow and the thorn revisit. The nettle shall flourish on the gravel court, and the wind will say, "Here were decent, godless people, their only monument, the asphalt road and 1,000 lost golf balls." But it seems that something has happened that has never happened before, though we know not just when or why or how or where. Men have left God. Not for other gods, they say, but for no God. And this has never happened before, that men both deny gods and worship gods, professing first reason and then money and power and what they call life or race or dialectic. The church disowned, the tower overthrown, the bells upturned. What have we to do but stand with empty hands and palms turned upward in an age which advances progressively backwards?
Hey, Bill, would you just stay, just quickly? We want to do a
Oh, I'm not good.
a tribute to Bill Keith, who we know and love. No one would argue that Mr. Bill Keith is the ultimate host. Be it hosting Trinity House concerts or chairing the Trinity House board, both for over 20 years. Wow. His quiet, steady, stabilizing manner are essentially the glue that helps hold so much together. We've never seen Bill Keith lash out or say hurtful words. He can effectively call things to order without being parental, and knows how to allow the occasional chaos seemingly necessary for creative processes. Thanks, Bill, for your faithful and diligent service to Trinity House. How about a hand for Bill? We're going to have some brief time to anyone who has a brief story. But before we do that, I've asked my friend and Brian Heersink, who brought so much to us when he came in the early days of Trinity House. He has a tribute to give this evening.
Some of you will remember Jill Vassallo, my wife, Jill Vassallo Heersink. Some will not, and that's okay. Jill Vasallo came to Trinity House interested in performing, but her heart and her talents drew her behind the scenes. The production values needed improvement, so she launched the role of producer. Jill coordinated the underrecognized backstage volunteers into a working fellowship. Ever the encourager, she was also enlisted to provide a live laugh track for the comedies. Fact. Audiences were self-conscious in this small space, so Jill would fill it with her laughter. The house relaxed, and the actors settled in, grateful for the interaction. Jill left a legacy of structure, love, and laughter at Trinity House and in the home that we made together as a family.
Anyone else have a brief words that they'd like to share from their share? Any memory?
Yeah, well, I'd like to share something.
Hold on just a moment.
Bernard is back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in one act called The Long Christmas Dinner. And the synopsis of what it was about. In the span of 45 minutes, the character aged 50, 55 years. And so I started out as a young man, grew up, got married, and my son was on going off to World War II. And during the show, if someone passes away because they started out old and then 50 years later they're gone, they would exit out this door over here. So my son is getting ready to go off to World War II. And I salute him. And he salutes me. And just as he turns to go out, someone in the audience yelled, "I wouldn't go through that door if I
were." Lloyd VandenBrick.
Well, Jenna VandenBrick, my daughter, who's on home tonight, she sent me something that she wanted to share. You may remember that Kate and Jenna did a lot of social meetings homes. And so this is what she said. "I cannot come to the celebration today," said little Jenna Sue from PA. "I have 2 kids and it's far, a long drive and hours in the car. My heart is sad, my chest is pain. I'm thinking I should have jumped on a plane. My memories are overflowing. I've counted 5 shows where I was glowing. The booth, the stage, the concession stand, the costumes. Still my favorite thing has to be the dressing rooms. She says, my love to you all. I wish I was there. You all know that it's community and people who make this place special beyond compare. And then she says, I have another story, and my heart is, what? What's that? What's that you said? You say it's someone else's turn on stage? Goodbye.
Heidi, I wanted to mention just thank you to you too for being so gracious in with us, and we thank you for your marriage and your relationship and your love for Bill. Okay.
Thank you, Paul. That was great.
Also, the Garfield gals, welcome. You came a long way, I know, from New York, and I think we're honored to have you guys here. And Rich Luthwaite, who was a part of the elder board that I pitched the idea to, and so thank you, Rich.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, without further ado, let's wrap this evening up by bringing back the one, the only Amy Petty. Hallelujah.
Be gone. I don't know what was so funny. You know, with everything that, you know, the Queen and all, I know. But all I keep doing is not doing this because she thought that was inappropriate. So I keep trying to sit like this. It's not comfortable. I'm gonna stop trying to be a lady. Anyway, hi, my name is Amy, and it is a humongous honor to be on this stage. I grew up in Michigan, but I lived many years out in, near Boston. And it occurred to me one day, I was like, I should go home and do a concert somewhere near home. Hello. And so I was like, I don't really know the venues out there. So I search, and Trinity House pops up on my computer. And I'm like, that looks like a cool place. I should check it out. And then I read this thing on there. It's like, if you want to play at Trinity House, we've got a lot of people who want to play here, so best of luck to you. And also, you know, you better have a good thing going because we don't let just anybody play here. And you know, we have a long history and everybody's really good. So, and I just kind of like closed the tab. Anyway, but now I'm playing the 40th anniversary, so it's fine. And I've been on the board, and I still feel like the new kid, but I've been on the board for like 9 years or something like that. So I know. Anyway, but I love it here. I love this stage. I love this audience. I love the people. I love the sound. I love it all. It's my favorite place to play. Don't tell the other places I play, but it is my favorite place to play. And remember that not too long ago, there was a time where we weren't sure if we were going to be able to open this building again, where we didn't we could not see the return of music. That was kind of a dark time. But there's light on the other side. We are stumbling into the unknown. The world spins without us alone. And every 5 minutes feels like a lifetime. And I don't feel much like singing, but nothing rhymes. But there is a light on the other side, and we will know our way home. There is hope rising in the tide. We are loved and we are known even now. I don't know how, but I just know. And you will feel like you can't do anymore. Your body will be battered and your hands sore. And every 5 minutes will feel like a lifetime. he sang mine. How could I not believe that there is a light on the other side, and we will know our way home, and there is hope rising in the tide, and we are loved and we are known. Oh yes, oh well, there is a light on the other side, and we will know our way home, and there is hope that's rising in the tide, and we are loved and we are known. We're safe and sound, even now. I don't know how, but I just know. I just know. Thank you. Before we do that, I'm going to read some stuff.
By the way, just quickly, I wanted to honor my bride of 48 years.
Right on. That's a long time, y'all. Yeah. Okay, guys. Thank you so much for coming tonight, for supporting Trinity House for 40 years, which is also a long time. So good job. Give yourselves a round of applause. Wouldn't be here without you. We'd like to thank the committee that has been working for a year and a half to put this whole night together. Yeah. Paul Patton, Susan VandenBrick, Lauren Garfield, Rebecca Schweitzer, and Kathy Kitzmann. Thank you to our MCs, Paul Patton and Bill Keith. Woohoo! There have been so many people helping out, volunteering tonight, like so many. John McCoy's on sound, Gary Grace is up on the lights, Jeff Morrison has done the box office, Lloyd VandenBrick, he did the slideshow. I hope everybody got a chance to see that. That was totally awesome. And Jeff Hedeen has been the stagehand. Did you see how gloriously that all went down when he handed me my mic cable? Anyway, and then there are tons of others. So thank you to everybody who helped make tonight happen. And today, and all the food, and oh my gosh, there was so much. There was so much. Okay. When the show ends, please join us in the lobby. We're going to have cake and pie. Hello. Thank you to Lisa Morrison for making the cake, and to Janice Leach for the Why Not Pie pies, which I'm going to be digging into. So look out. Before Kathy and I play our last song, I just have a short little tribute to Paul Patton. He's done lots of tributing this evening, and so here's one for Paul. Paul Patton. We all know that Paul is the founder of Trinity House. He's the man who had a vision for doing theater in this space over 40 years ago. He is many things: playwright, professor, director, actor, pastor, counselor, and he's our friend. What trait stands out the most to you? To many of us, it's that encouragement. Yes. Right? Right. Yes. As Trinity House has undergone many changes over the years, Paul has always been there to praise us, to encourage the work that we're doing, and to support us and remind us how important the art that we make is. So, thank you, Paul. About a month ago, Kathy approached me and she said, "You know what we should do?" I said, "What?" She said, "We should write a song for the 40th anniversary thing." It's like, you are right. And so that's what we did.
Finished it yesterday.
Yeah, don't worry about it. We did. A little deadline will do stuff for you.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary. Here it is. Come in and sit with me. Come in and be changed with me. The songs in the walls and stories in the halls, memories and history. Come in and sit with me. Well, I was born in the hands of righteous men who sought to bring God to this place. Love above all is steeped in the walls, resonant with songs of grace. I was reborn in his hands, his vision meets art. His vision was cast on the stage. Real and true and another worldview, and passion that leaps from the page. So come in and sit with me. Come in and be changed with me. The songs in the walls and stories in the halls, memory and history. Come in and sit with me. The voices and strings and the melodies ring through the air and the earth and the songs. Truth in the words and our spirits are stirred, and my rafters still sing when they're gone. Well, 40 years have gone by, it can't be denied. It's a sacred and magical space, filled with stories and songs, and we all sing along. Truth and love cannot be erased, and God is still in this place. So come in and sit with me. Come in and be changed with me. The songs in the walls and stories in the halls, memories and history. So come thank you so much. Thank you for being here. And thank God for Trinity House. Let's eat some pie. Come in and sit with me. Come in and be changed with me. The songs in the walls and stories in the halls, memories and history.